think this is not going to be as funny as it is. Okay, we're good. We're zen. 3, 2, 1. Hello, you are locked into Radio 2 Funky with me, your girl, Ange Kate, and we have a very, very special guest joining us. We've got Chantelle Marquez in here. She's performed at festivals across the UK. She's had her music featured on national radio stations. She will be doing her first boxing match soon, and she's here with us today.
Hello. I'm buzzing to be here.
You are so cute. How are you?
I'm good, you know. I'm still sweating from boxing, actually.
Thank you so much for coming here. I promise you guys, she does not look like she's been sweating from boxing, like, at all.
I had to go really glam tonight because I knew she was going to film me for this radio interview.
So I would just want to get into asking you some questions about your music first. So you released Asylum like last year, right? But you recently did your live acoustic. How was that? How was the process? What made you kind of feel like, okay, I want to do a live version now?
I think originally I always loved jazz, but as I've come into the music industry, I kind of went down a hip-hop route, and then doing an acoustic version of Asylum was my opportunity to kind of sing with a piano, which is nice. It's like my real love, innit? So.
Yeah, I feel like when you've got like an instrument there, it makes you remember like, oh, this is why I fell in love with music, because you can see all the live like music around you, whereas when you've got a beat, you don't see it sort of being made, you just see it like added into Logic. But when you can hear, like, you can see the piano and the physical equipment, you just get like back in touch with it.
100%. It's just like stripping back all of the added parts of the recipe, and then it's just you and the piano, and it's like I love that experience.
How, like, with Asylum, what is sort of the inspiration behind the song?
So it was inspired by the Joker films. Lady Gaga is in the second one, obviously, and I think the Joker approaches a lot of mental health issues, and I am diagnosed with bipolar, so when I go in the studio, sometimes it's nice to exercise that kind of crazy side of my mind. So that's what the song was inspired by.
It's so fun, like the visuals, and something that, like, when I was doing my research on you, right, I was looking through all your songs and like your visuals, and I was like, this girl does not miss, like, with your visuals, as in like most of your songs have always got accompanying visuals with them. Is this something that you like try and do, or is it just something that you do subconsciously? Because I think sometimes a lot of artists overlook that visual like side to it. For you, like, how important is it to have those visual elements?
That's so nice of you to notice, by the way, because
I'm a stalker.
For me, that's part of it. Like, one of my favourite parts of being a musician is creating the concept behind a song. It's not just a song. I imagine the world of that song. So I direct all my own videos. I find the right videographers that I think are going to be able to execute my vision. And then it just, when it comes together, it's the most satisfying feeling.
That must be so incredible for you, like, because you've outsourced all these like people, you can see how well it's like meshed together, and when you get that final product, it's like, wow, I had such a like say and so much creative freedom and control like over what you've produced, which is a big thing. I think lots of artists don't get that same like creative freedom.
Yeah, 100%. It's the best part of doing music. I love film, and I get to do it all. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
You're not just the like singer songwriter, but I guess you get to be like the director, the video edit, like everything, which is, it's so refreshing, I think, to see you take such an involvement over your art. It's not just like, okay, I've done this bit, I'll pass it on to someone else, and that is really refreshing, honestly.
Oh, thank you.
So I listened also to your podcast that you did. I think it was Leicester Lives. I listened to that one, and you talked a lot about lots of different things. There was a lot about your growing up, a lot about your industry, a lot about your music. And I think, first of all, thank you for being so vulnerable, like speaking about such, I think, vulnerable topics and being so open and honest. I think one thing that really stuck out to me was the way that you were so open, talking about like your childhood and your upbringing and like growing up in a care home. And I think for lots of people, as soon as you say care home, you think, oh, Tracy Beaker, but that's like it's not the reality, right? I just wondered if you could talk a little bit more about your upbringing and how this sort of influences your music now.
Yeah, so obviously growing up, I was a bit of a wild child. I had undiagnosed bipolar, put into care, and it was a crazy experience. Like, I didn't even know I'd had a weird life until I got older and I got therapy. But yeah, it has a huge influence on the music I write. I don't really live in society. I've had such an unusual life, like, and for me that's a blessing, because when I write, I don't think about what people are going to think, because I live in my own mad world. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's nice because you've got this completely different outtake and outlook than literally any other artist I've ever met, and it's so nice to see you being able to not like shy away from your experiences and not put on this, I guess, like facade of, oh, I am this type of person, but be like really raw and authentic. And I know something that often is overlooked, and it's a very taboo subject, people talking about therapy, but you were very open and very honest about it. And I guess something off the back of that is, how do you, like, I guess what encouraged you to be like, I'm going to take this step to start speaking to someone, and what influence do you think that's had on your music now?
You know, my life was crazy. I hit rock bottom and I had to find a way to get myself into a better situation. So yeah, it was just desperation. I was like, I need to sort my life out, because I don't know how I made it like through my 20s, because I was just mixing with dodgy people. And
do you think that from things like therapy and like looking after yourself, do you think, for example, if you didn't get therapy, do you think that you would still be making music now, or do you think it wouldn't have had it, like, what sort of impact do you think it's had on your music and your sound?
If I didn't have therapy, I would be in a completely different place now. I wouldn't even know that I was in a bad world. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you're so like in something, and only then when you like take a step back out, you're like, wow, I was in a really bad situation that wasn't good for me. And I guess like going back to you growing up in a care home, what for you, whilst you were there, at what point were you like, okay, music's my calling, this is like what I want to do?
So I was in a detention at school for not attending performing arts, and then they were holding auditions for a school show, and I was like, go on then, I'll have a go. Like, and I got up and sang, and then they was like, oh, okay. And then the school and the kids' home invested in my singing lessons and took me to auditions across the country for performing arts schools and stuff. So I was going to these auditions in London, to these like posh performing arts schools in a tracksuit, and everyone was in like a bun and talking posh, and I was like well out of my comfort zone. But
you know what though, it makes you memorable because you were so authentic, like to yourself.
I didn't know any different.
Exactly. And it's sometimes like it's good to be so oblivious, I think, to things, because then you're just pushing your raw talent and nothing else. You're not trying to be anyone else. And it's so nice to see that, you know, like where you were was actually funding and supporting, like pushing you into doing singing and sticking with that like as a career, not just a hobby. Like they really wanted you to do well, which is so nice to see. I think lots of young people these days don't get that same support, even from like schools where they're able to pursue their like creative careers. So I think, would you say that you feel like that's had a huge impact on where you are now?
I was very lucky to get that support, and I think anyone that's young that is in a bad situation, there usually is like support around you, but it's hard to accept it. But just for me, I grabbed every opportunity and I was like, I'm going to take this and run with it. Don't get me wrong, I self-sabotaged a lot, but yeah, every time I got a good opportunity, I thought, let's go with this.
Like you just push through the struggles, literally. And with growing up in the care home, what are some sort of, I guess, stereotypes that you can sort of debunk for us, that what people might think it's like growing up in a care home and then what it's really like?
It's definitely not like Tracy Beaker.
I'm sorry for saying that.
No.
I used to watch Tracy. I love Tracy Beaker, the way she was propped up on the window looking for her mum all the time. But I guess
she was iconic. She was
a queen.
She was everything I wanted to be, but it was nothing like that. It was like, it was just very institutional. Like, your food's locked away in a pantry. Don't get me wrong, the staff, they tried their best to make it feel normal, but there was nothing normal about being in there. You know, when you go to school, everyone knows you're the kids' own kids. Yeah. But I loved it there, you know. I fit in there. Yeah. That was my... Because I didn't get on in foster families because I just did what I wanted. They couldn't control me. So when I got to a kids' home... You
could have that freedom still.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny, right? I don't picture you being like naughty at all because you've got like such an innocent face. Like, I'm not joking. Like, you have like this, like a proper face of like a little baby and like an angel. So I can't imagine you being like, you know, when you say like, I didn't get on with my foster families, I was just doing all this naughty stuff. I can't imagine it. I'm not joking. Like, you know, I feel
That's
like...
how I got away with murder, isn't it?
Because of the face. It's the eyes. And I guess one thing that I wanted to ask, when I was looking through your Instagram, right, I saw that you'd not just done singing, but there were loads of things that you had done, like a full creative babe you are. Like, you did the DJing, you did the acting, like you've been on TV, like so much has been going on outside of music. At what point were you like, music's the one, not the acting, not the DJing, not anything else?
I always knew I was writing songs at like 6 years old. My dad had like bits of paper with me writing really adult kind of lyrics. Oh, wow. I just knew it in my heart. And when people would like ask, what do you want to be when you're older? I knew I wanted to be a singer, but I went on a massive detour.
But you got there in the end, like you came 360. And I guess all those skills that you sort of learned with the DJing and with the acting, like it must be quite similar to, you know, when you're performing on stage, like the acting helps, and then when you're making music, like the DJing helps too. Yeah,
for real. I remember I only went to the performing arts school for a year and a half before dropping out, but the things we learnt on there, like some of the teachers were from RADA, which is quite a prestigious drama school. So we learnt things like method acting. So say when I go into a music video shoot now, that day I'm psychologically getting into character, like I'm priming my mind, getting into that world, all to the lead up to being on that camera. It's really important to me, that artistic process.
It's so funny you say that as well, because in your music videos, you can really tell. It's almost like, especially with the Asylum video, it's like, I think there's a bit where you're wearing a pink outfit, and then there's a bit where you're on like the fairground rides. It looks like you're presenting yourself as two different characters almost.
Wow,
do you know what I mean? Like, I think not just like from the makeup, but also like the way that you're behaving. I feel like from you saying that about the method acting, it makes sense that you're really like, it's almost like you're getting yourself into character for these things, which is incredible. I don't think a lot of artists do that. They just turn up and they're like, okay, let's go.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know, yeah. It's just part of my vision that I want to get right.
It's so, like, the way you, I think in your head, like, dissect every little thing, but it's just natural to you. Like, I think for some people it'd be like they have to really do it, but because of all your experiences, it's just so, like, natural to you, which is why I think it's so cool that you've done, like, so many different creative industries. And I guess, what's one thing that if people didn't know about you that you would want to tell them about you?
That is a really good question, isn't it? I've actually got a bigger heart than people think. But don't tell anyone.
I feel like you give that energy.
No, I'm a baddie.
Girls, like, I ain't got no heart. I feel like you can tell. You just give good vibes.
Do
like,
I?
Yeah. I think no matter, even if you try to hide that, it's like impossible.
Oh.
You did a bad job of that one.
Yeah. I'm really trying not to swear as well.
Thank you. And I guess moving on to now, like your boxing and your upcoming fight that's in April. Could you tell us a little bit about that? I guess, is this the first time you've done something like this?
Yeah, it's my first fight. I've been going to boxing classes for like 2 years. I love boxing. And just this, since taking this fight, it's completely changed me.
Oh, wow.
Mentally. Because when you know you're going to fight, you have to get serious about life. Like, it's a serious sport. So it completely strips down all of your ego, and then you're just left with you and that process of preparing yourself for a fight. So yeah, I've had to stop drinking, all other things, and I'm like, wow, I just feel very calm.
Do you feel like a different person from training, from before you were training to now that you are training and preparing for a fight?
I'm a completely different person since taking this fight. I was chaos before. Yeah, you know that anxiety you get after a night out? Mine's like on steroids, like
constant mode.
Yeah. Now I look back at some of the behaviours and the way I'd act when I'd have a drink, and I think that weren't me.
Do you feel like even after the fight is done, you'll still continue on with these sort of habits that you've learned over this preparation period? Like, how long has the preparation period been as well?
Well, it's 9 weeks until the fight, I think. And yeah, it's been life-changing, so it's something I will continue to do, and I would recommend anyone to get involved in some sort of combat sports or sports in general, you know, just for having a goal to work towards, and it's amazing for discipline and yeah, so many benefits.
So how does it work? Are you training on like a daily basis, or is it a weekly basis up until the fight? Like, can you give us a little bit of an insight of what your day is looking like when you're training? Yeah,
so Icon Fight Promotions, who are running the show, they're going to hold Tuesdays and Thursdays training sessions, but then I train myself as well. I go to Rendell Munro's gym 3 times a week, and yeah, a lot of it is fitness, you know, going running, but I don't want to give too much away from my opponent.
So do you know who you're going to be fighting? Has that all been like sorted out? I have no idea how this works, so it's like completely foreign to me.
Me neither. I don't know my opponent yet. We had an opponent, but that's not happening, so they're going to find me another opponent.
Oh my God. And I guess, how are you preparing yourself to be like voluntarily like punched in the face? How does that go? How do you go about literally mentally preparing yourself for that? Because it's not just like the pain, but it's a lot. Like you said, you have to strip everything back. Like your ego almost has to be non-existent, right?
Yeah, so I'm going sparring on a Monday and getting beaten up by 17-year-olds, yeah? And I've never been so humbled in all my life. So that's how I prepare.
There's nothing that quite, I think, humbles you, like not just getting punched in the face, but by a 17-year-old who is so happy to get their anger out for no reason, and you're just the punch bag. Yeah,
but it's a beautiful experience, really, because you've got like yourself and another girl, and you're just there to learn, and it's like, go on, punch me in the face, because I'm going to get better at boxing, so just go for it.
You welcome it.
Yeah. But like, it's a learning process, not about just absolutely beating the hell out of each other. It will be on the fight, but it's about learning how to defend yourself. And
I guess, what's something that you didn't really expect going into this? Did you have any like preconceptions about what it was going to be like training for a fight, and then actually now that you are training?
Everyone suddenly is a boxing expert and has a million opinions on what you need to do, and it's like
It's always the men as well.
Yeah, it's like hit and don't get hit, and I'm like, thank you, didn't think about that one.
Rule number 1.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I think, so have you had to like change everything in terms of like meals, what you're eating? I know you mentioned that you can't drink alcohol, you've cut all of that out, but in terms of like food preparation, is that something that you have to?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the reason I originally went into boxing is because I would practice the lifestyle of a boxer and apply it to music, but I never did the boxing part. I would study boxers to see how they would win fights, and then I'd use that mentality in music or all the other industries I went into. So I'm just carrying on that kind of lifestyle, really.
Do you think that the boxing has had an influence over like your music and your approach to like now making music?
1,000,000%.
That's crazy.
1,000,000%. The way I'm the way I'm operating now in life is like there's so much more discipline. I'm a lot more serious about the music.
Do you think it's like inspired you in any way in terms of like your lyrics or any sort of like visuals that you put out?
Yeah, I mean, I've not told anyone this, but there might be a song released around the time of the fight.
Oh, slay. You know what? I was going to ask this because I had Kiz on the show. I think you might know him. He wrote a song for a boxer from Sheffield, and I think he also did like a ring walk to a song or something like that. Do you think that that's something that you will do, like walk out to one of your songs?
I'm gonna walk out to my own song. I am. I love
that. You've got no choice. Do you know that? There's no other song that you can walk out to. Nothing will gas you up of like your own song.
Yeah, and you know, this is my opportunity to take the whole journey and put it into one song, you know, and for the video I'm just gonna put the whole journey into one piece of work. So it's a bit of a passion project, this one.
I love that. I love how the boxing's also overlapping with the music though, because it just feels so like full circle. And my last question to you is, do you have any advice for anyone who might be listening and is struggling with music or just finding themselves or wants to get involved in boxing or follow a similar path?
Yeah, sack off the people that are like bad for you and go find your tribe. Go find the things that you're into. Go find classes. Find something you're passionate about, and then you'll find positive people that are more aligned with you, and then you're just going to thrive.
I love that. I feel like you blanked so many. You were trying to say some explicit words there. And will you introduce Asylum for us? So I'm going to play it now.
Yes, everyone on Radio Too Funky. Can't wait for you to hear this song, Asylum.
You left me on silent, now I'm in Arkham Asylum.
What was that?
You left me on silent, now I'm in Arkham Asylum. I fear God.